Good day, folks. I'm Tim, and you're watching The Adventures of Two-Wheel Tim. Today I'm going to share with you my choice for a bike rack, the 1UP Super Duty 2-inch receiver hitch rack. I'm going to show you how it works, I'm going to show you how it loads, and I'm going to tell you the pros and cons. Alright, so after about 350 miles or so, I did find something a bit disturbing. When I started this video, I already had a preconceived notion on the direction I thought I would take it because I've been using 1UP racks for years for our non-electric bikes. But as I actually got into using the 1UP Super Duty rack for our e-bikes for a longer adventure, that's when I realized this rack wasn't the same and expectation-wise as the original 1UP rack. I purchased the 1UP Super Duty rack in anodized black. I purchased it with the fat tire adapter kit that 1UP installed for me. I also purchased the loading tray, and I purchased the tail light mount that has a brake light and turn signals. So let me get into my overview of the rack, and then I'll be right back. So this is the 1UP Super Duty receiver hitch rack. It's rated for up to 75 pounds per tray, and it holds up to 225 pounds total. The Ultra Beast 2 is 76 pounds without the batteries, and the Hub Duo is 62 pounds without the batteries. So of course we do load them without the batteries. This does secure in the 2-inch receiver with an expansion bolt. It has a special keyed wrench with a slot that goes in here. It's an expansion bolt that's an anti-wobble. So you can see this thing does not move. I did purchase the extra taillight attachment where you can also mount your license plate, but I just use it for the taillight. It also has turn signal flashers, everything. And it plugs right into your 4-prong trailer connection. The thing I really like about the 1UP is that it has these brackets that actually attach just to your wheels, so it doesn't come in contact with the bike at all. The downside is that if you have a full wheel fender like Elaine's Hub Duo, you do need to get a foam pad and put on here. You can order one from 1UP, but I just bought a pool noodle for $14 off of Amazon and cut it to fit. For easier loading of the bikes, I did purchase the tray. It just connects right here to these expansion washers. When you buy the 1UP rack for a fat tire bike, you do have to get these expansion washers put in. And if you request it upon order, 1UP will put those in for you. To attach the tray, you have to remove this little cotter pin, pull out the arm. The wheel bracket just lowers out of the way. Now here's one of the things I really dislike about the 1UP rack. This is one of my biggest pet peeves. One, this tray is made for bikes with wheels 3 inches or below. Anything above 3 inches, and it doesn't really fit. So when you're pulling the bike up on it, it runs on the rails up in here, and that's a real pain. You have to be really careful what you're doing, especially with heavy bikes. The second thing is the way this hooks onto these expansion washers. These can move very, very easily when you're loading the bike. So what I do is I strap it down with Velcro straps to secure it while I'm loading the bike. Another real annoyance is that the spring arm here that you detach from the wheel connection, this spring arm here, I strap this down as well, because if you don't strap this whole thing down, not only will the tray move, but this damn thing will pop up and get in your way as you're trying to load the bike. This is really an annoyance on the 1UP rack, especially for a rack that's like $1,000. Okay, so as you can see, the bikes are all loaded. And you can see here how the pool noodle prevents any damage to Elaine's fender. It does push in on the fender braces, but they bend right back into shape. One thing you have to be really aware of is that if you have two bikes, there is the possibility of the bikes hitting together. And what I noticed before we left was that Elaine's rack arm, if it sways, it'll bump into my fork. So I took a pool noodle for a pad and I velcroed it around my fork so that if Elaine's bike bounces, it won't damage my fork. The other thing to be aware of is that the cranks can turn and the pedals can bang into the other bike as well. So I took Velcro straps and I just strapped the crank arms to the frame to keep it from moving. There is clearance up here, even though it's very close. The bikes won't hit right here, so that works out well. The way you release the bikes is you pull up on the rationing system, but because there's so much tension, you have to actually push in on the wheel brace with the other hand as you're pulling up on this to get it to release, because you can see it's very tense. You can't pull it up easily. There you have it. The bikes are loaded, ready to go. And you'll see here that there's no sway on the rack itself because of the expansion bolt they put on the receiver insert for the receiver hitch. There may be racks out there that are less expensive that do a better job. I know that a lot of people look at Kuat and Thule and Yakima. This was my choice because we've used one-up racks for our regular bikes. It's definitely not the perfect e-bike rack, I think, but it definitely works. While the Super Duty rack was functional and worked fine for what we needed, the longer I used it and the farther we drove, the more that I noticed the bracket arms started to get out of alignment, and that started to really concern me. After about 350 miles or so of driving, I did find something a bit disturbing. After we returned, I discovered that the arms holding the bikes in place started to bend. What I noticed is that the bikes were tilting to the left, and to me what looks like a discernible bend in the bracket right here along the cotter pin. And if you watch as I shut it, it doesn't go down all the way and it's now misaligned. And so one-up touts this as being off-road ready, but I'll tell you what, if you're pushing the max limit, 75 pounds per bike, this thing is not gonna be a good off-road choice. While this is a decent rack, I have questions about its durability. I'm gonna email their customer service and see if this could be a warranty issue. Upon our return, I reached out to one-up's warranty department to inquire as to whether or not the bent brackets would be covered under warranty, and I did receive a response in about 3 business days, and the person was really nice. They said they would replace them for me at no charge. The person did suggest, however, that one of the reasons that the rack arms could have bent is if you tighten the brackets down too tightly on the bike, it could cause undue pressure. So the person suggested in the future just tightening it down enough to where it starts to depress the tire. And full disclosure, you know, when I was cranking down on that thing, I was really pushing hard on the tires to make sure that they were secure. And I didn't read anywhere in any literature stating that you could over tighten the brackets on the tires, and so I did respond and suggest that maybe they should publish that somewhere. So now I'm going to show you how I replaced the brackets and got the one-up Super Duty rack ready to go again. Here you'll see that the one-up customer service team sent me a couple of replacement arms, and the customer service experience went great until I received a second email from another person that basically said that the next time the arms bend, that I should simply bend them back. All right, so to do this job, I'll be using a 13mm socket and a 13mm wrench. These are the spacers that fit on for the fat tire kit. And now I need to pull the fitting off that mounts to the tire. When you put the two arms together, you can definitely see how bent this thing is. If you look at the two brand new ones, these are the brand new ones I got from warranty, and you'll see they're perfect, right? Okay, so what I think I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and install the two arms first. Okay, so now we're gonna go and reinstall the piece that secures down the tire when the bike is on the rack. and we're good to go. So all in all, I do feel like the 1UP Super Duty rack is a decent and functional rack. What I would say is that if you have an e-bike that's pushing the tray's limits, it does reduce some of that durability, as obviously shown in the bent brackets. 1UP also states that the rack is off-roadable, and I definitely would not feel comfortable taking the 1UP rack with our e-bikes off-road just because our e-bikes are so heavy. I feel like that if you have e-bikes that aren't pushing the weight limit on the trays, that it would be obviously much more durable and more off-roadable, I think. But again, I wouldn't be comfortable taking it off-road with our e-bikes. If I could do it all over again, I would probably do further research. I do admit that I had kind of a bias toward 1UP racks, and so I went into it with that mindset. But in hindsight, I would probably do a little bit more research. I'm sure a lot of you out there have opinions on racks that maybe you used, and I do invite you to share your experiences in the comments below, just so that myself and other viewers can benefit from your experience. And while you're at it, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. If you like my videos, hit that thumbs up button, give me a like, and don't forget to ring the bell for notifications of future video releases. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you in the next one.